Good evening and welcome back to Pour Temecula, your local wine, beer, and beverage podcast. It's officially spooky season, so today we've got a spooktacular episode for you all.
So I've always been fascinated by ghosts and paranormal. I went through a phase for quite a few years of watching Ghost Hunters, but like the original one where they're actually trying to like disprove everything, not the ones where the guys are just running around screaming every time they hear a noise. So I was really excited to go on this ghost tour around Temecula because we actually got to use the little EMF detectors that I'd seen on the show. And not only that, but we also learned a lot of Temecula history as well.
Our guests today are Aedan and Becca from the Haunt Ghost Tours Temecula. They are a company that was started by two musicians who had their own paranormal experiences, which they're definitely going to have to tell us about, and came together to share their love of California history and the paranormal. Today, they offer tours around San Francisco, Solvang, Los Angeles, and our hometown, Temecula. So welcome, Aedan and Becca.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you guys want to start with? Just what it is that you're doing for the tours and, locally as well as everywhere else.
Yeah, of course. Our tour mainly consists of, across these 4 different cities, just really delving into a lot of the early history that we have of them, checking out any sort of paranormal encounters that have been reported in these historical areas. We get to use a lot of these various different ghost hunting tools, not just the more technological like the aforementioned EMF readers, but some very much traditional things as well. We have tarot cards, pendulums, all that sort of thing. And in addition to our more recently debuted wine and true crime tours that we have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Those are a favorite of ours.
Yes, they're super fun. So, of course, Temecula is known for its wine. So our wine and true crime tour takes our guests to 3 different local wine bars that sell different kinds of local wines. They are absolutely wonderful. It ranges from reds to whites to rosés and sometimes even seltzers. But we love to stop at some of the local businesses here to really help stir things up in the area. And we talk about local true crime that happened right here in Temecula, as well as in the Inland Empire in general. And some of these stories are 100 years old, and some of them happened just 2 years ago. So the spectrum on that is quite vast.
Before we dive super far into what you're doing, we always like to start off with what we've been drinking lately, but we like to hear from our guests too, and maybe you could tell us something. It could be anything, beer, wine, cocktails, we were talking earlier, kombucha, whatever you've been drinking lately.
Of late, I've been getting really into gin, actually, so that's it's not maybe as common as other things out here in Temecula, but I've definitely been trying to experiment with a lot of those other gin cocktails. I had a last word for the first time a couple months ago.
Very fitting for what you do.
Oh, yes, exactly. I thought so as well. Very
you can have a whole lineup of cocktails and beverages that fit right into your whole theme. So.
Oh, yeah. Nice and morbid.
Very. I've been into all natural wines lately, so wines with either really low or absolutely no sulfites. Their grapes aren't grown with pesticides or any GMOs or things that would really affect the plant or the grapes themselves. I've really been liking it for a few reasons, one of which is because it doesn't give me tummy troubles. The other of which because I don't get headaches or hangovers preceding drinking some wine, so it's very nice and it feels healthier. Even though it's still wine, it feels better.
Well, I think a couple weeks ago, someone in this room, who are not our guests, sent me this Instagram post about these scary beer additives that you could put in there. And I think one of them was getting a beer, your basic like Pilsner beer, like a Budweiser or a Pabst Blue Ribbon or a Coors or something like that. And you add in olive brine and an olive.
Ew.
They call it a beer teeny. So of course I had to try this because Shannon sent me this.
I won't try
And she's
it.
like, this sounds so disgusting. I'm like, I got to try this. This is right up my alley to do. I have to say so the oil from the brine doesn't really mix with the beer because, oil and water and, they don't go together. So it was just floating on top. It was just kind of, I don't know. It was not anything special at all, in my opinion. But then I did some Googling, and another one that is popular is putting in some pickle and some pickle vinegar into your beer.
That makes sense.
And so I did that too, and I think I had a little tiny cup of it, and I said, you know what? I just prefer my pickle separate and my beer separate. So it was very unspectacular, but kind of scary.
0 out of 10 recommend.
However, I did have, I don't know if you're a sangria or anybody
Yeah.
here is sangria fans. I mean, I have my personal recipe that I always make for it, but I found locally Prolific Brewing, who took over the Iron Fire space. They have a canned sangria, and I thought it was going to be more effervescent and spritzy, but it was more just like a wine that had some sangria flavors to it, and it was really good. It was really close to the recipe that I make. I just added a little bit of like a shot of rum to it, and then some like club soda on top of it to give it a little bit more fresh in it, and kind of diluted it a little bit too. And that was pretty solid. So if someone's looking for a sangria that actually tastes good, pre-made, Prolific here in Temecula is the way to go.
All right.
This is Shannon.
I actually went to Ryan and Katie Schumacher's lunch event at Two Travelers, and they had a Sauvignon Blanc, a Sangiovese, and a Cabernet Sauvignon. And I thought all three of their wines were fantastic. Obviously, that wasn't the first time I had tried their wines, but for some reason that night, their Cab Sauv was drinking so beautifully. It was really good, and I feel like it was a really good lunch party, and to be there and support them was fun. I also had a Picpoul d'Épinay from Corbeau that I thought was delicious.
At Corbeau, not made by Corbeau.
At Corbeau, not made from Corbeau. But it was really delicious. And Rick, I remember we just did that Picpoul little short pour, and I thought of you. It was really good.
It was probably better than what I had. No offense to the one from Arona, but it just didn't work.
I was going to say, we have been getting some activity from our EMF here.
So explain what an EMF detector is and what you have on the table right now
So-
and what you're doing.
An EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency, and we have a little meter here that detects that. It's also called a K2. It's very popular in paranormal shows and video games, but it genuinely does detect electricity or electrical fields. It is extremely consistent. So if your phone goes off next to it, it'll trigger it. And it has like a few lights here, so it starts with green. No, okay. Sorry, it started going off. And it is said that spirits can manipulate that electromagnetic frequency. So if ghosties want to come in and talk or make themselves known, sometimes they're going to make these lights go up. So it ranges from like green to yellow to orange to red. And the stronger the presence or the more intense electromagnetic field, the higher the spike. So it'll go into the red. We just had a little natural spike up to yellow, so something's trying to maybe...
Do spirits like to drink? Because I should say that we're actually at Two Travelers today, and we have a lot of alcohol and wine around us.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm sure my coworker Aedan here will definitely clarify, but we have a lot of Depression era and Prohibition era stories and spirits that definitely linger around here in the Wild West, Old Town Temecula. So I'm sure that they would love a glass of wine or even just, some straight whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm coming back in the afterlife, I'm definitely haunting a winery.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it could be a winery that you don't want to haunt. You could have been sent to hell. Anyway, all right, so we'll back up a little. So it may sound ridiculous, but do you believe in ghosts? Or should we call it the paranormal? Or does it matter? Or do you prefer one or the other?
I don't know if I have any preference when I'm talking about this sort of thing. I say generally I believe in most of that sort of thing. I think ghosts most of all are the ones I'm maybe most convinced by. I do like to clarify, most of the time I like to call myself a little bit of a skeptical believer. Really make sure to rule out any sort of other mundane explanation before really jumping to the ghost conclusion.
Absolutely.
But yeah, sometimes you really have ruled everything else out.
Yes, like right now with the EMF going off. I definitely believe in ghosts. I grew up in a haunted house here in Temecula, and after we moved out, nothing happened at our new house. So I don't know if that's worse or better. But I also have this thing where I can tap in. So I can, if I tap in to, let's say, I guess the spirit world, or being more psychically linked to whatever energies are around, I can see, speak, and hear spirits. So I definitely believe in ghosts.
That's amazing.
When you say ghosts, you think of that in more of a nicer connotation, and paranormal people would probably, well, because of Hollywood, right? Would be like, oh, paranormal, no,
Yeah.
none of that. I don't want that.
Well, everyone has their own thing, I think, because certain people could defy a poltergeist like the movie Poltergeist, and other people might be like, oh, poltergeist is a classification of spirit that does this, that, and the other, and that's really boring. So I don't.
It doesn't sound like the wine industry at all, does it, Shannon?
Yeah, a lot of vocabulary, you know.
Yeah.
But I would call them ghosts or spirits because I think it's just energy. Like, regardless if you're referring to it or believe in it to be like good or bad or however you want to view it, it's energy that's present.
Absolutely, yeah. Stuff sticks around one way or another, finds a way to just linger on a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily too ontologically good or bad. It's just, it's there, and whatever you make of it is whatever you make of it.
Do you each have your own paranormal experiences that you could share? You grew up in a haunted house. We'll start since you brought it up.
Okay.
What made it haunted?
That is a great question. So we don't know what started this haunting, but it started in my childhood bedroom. So it was just a typical suburban house over in, Temecula, so very, very normal here. But in my bedroom, we started to have temperature issues. And by that, I mean, it could be really cold in winter, but the room would be 85 plus degrees and the heater is not on in the house. And then it would get worse in summertime when the AC would be on. So the house itself is maybe between 75, 78, whatever, but the bedroom would be 100 plus. So we're like, okay, there's ventilation issues. We brought 3 separate people out to check if there were ventilation issues, and there weren't any. So I had something personal happen to me where afterwards I started to have night terrors. I had night terrors, I had nightmares, and it got to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm having sleep paralysis demons as a 10-year-old. That's great. But apparently not, because one night I was asleep and I got woken up because I heard like tap, 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 like kind of rhythmic. I woke up and I had a whiteboard in my bedroom. I'm 10, so it's things you have in there. And I look over at this whiteboard and I see a whiteboard marker getting picked up, like levitated, and getting tossed onto my top shelf. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm still in the dream. Okay, I blinked a few times. I'm awake. I'm very awake. I see it happen again. Another marker levitates and gets thrown up onto my top shelf. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, what is happening? And then one of the markers gets levitated up again and it gets thrown at me and it hits over my head. Now, the big brave girl that I am at 10, I threw the blankets and the covers back over me and I just stayed really quiet.
Wait, you're not supposed to do that now.
No, you should now.
No?
I mean, you totally can, because I still do it. But and then I heard it happen again over my head. So finally I screamed. I jumped out of my bed. I ran down to my mom's room and I was like, The next morning I told my mom what had happened and she's like, yeah, okay. Like, didn't really believe me because she knew that I was having like dream problems and night terrors, right? So then she got a little step stool, went and looked at the top of my shelf, and there were expo markers there, just straight up. There was about 4 or 5 of them. I can't remember. I think it was 4. And she's like, wow, why did you put them up here? I'm like, I'm a short person now. I was a very, very short 10-year-old. There's no way that I'd be able to climb up there and put them there. So we did an experiment where we tried to toss the markers up to the top shelf, but every time we tossed them, they kept rolling back off. because, that's how gravity and physics works. We couldn't get them to stick up there. And finally, my mom's like, okay, clearly something happened because this isn't normal. And then the activity spiked from there. Then we started to get fly infestations. The room started to smell like rotting flesh. The closet doors would open and close by themselves, and I stopped being in my room. I stopped everything. I slept in the loft on a couch. I was like, I'm not being in there. And then it got to a point where we had to get the room blessed by an actual priest. And after the priest left, he put like a little cross on my bedroom door. And a few months later, my friends came over and were like, we don't believe you. Your room can't be that haunted. I'm like, please do not make this worse. So they go in. It's Halloween. Of course it is. Of course it is. And they start taunting the spirit in my bedroom. I was hiding in my bathroom because I'm like, I'm not involved in this. And it goes dead quiet. They stopped giggling. They stopped laughing. And I hear blood-curdling screams from my friends. And they run out of my bedroom. And I have no idea what happened. And they refuse to tell me about what happened. But after they left and I was left alone that night, I'm sleeping in the loft area. And all of a sudden I hear a crash. I look over, and the cross had fallen off the door.
Oh.
Yep. And ever since then, it kind of was contained inside the bedroom, but we had a lot of houseplants at the time. And any houseplant that was inside my bedroom would die very quickly, but then it started to breach the bathroom and the loft area. Very slowly, plants would die. So we're like, this is bad. This is very bad.
It's not normal.
Yeah. But we cleansed the place and then we moved, and I haven't had anything happen since. So, at least not to that caliber.
Here's hoping on your behalf, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever experienced anything to that caliber either myself. But one of my very earliest experiences was actually right after my little sister was born. She was supposed to fly out to meet my great-grandmother, who was, of course, very old at the time. And this would have been barely a couple weeks after my sister was born, and my great-grandmother died possibly 2-3 days before they were supposed to meet. And yes, it was very sad, but she was getting to that age. It wasn't unexpected. But a couple days later, on the day they were supposed to meet, I distinctly recall me and my mother walking into my sister's room to just check on her, make sure she was all right. And we saw my great-grandmother just sitting at the edge of the bed. Just a very still image, not moving around, not speaking to us, not really doing anything at all, just checking over and making sure she got to meet my sister at least in one way or another. So that was really my earliest experience, and probably one of the most that I believe is the most tangible. It really did happen. No other explanation for why we would have seen that. Otherwise, though, more recently, I think most of my experiences would have been contained to the tour we run down here in Temecula. We are, of course, now seeking out the spirits a little bit more, so makes more opportunities for it, I think.
Bringing them out of the shadows.
Yes, exactly. Summoning them up to us.
Well, that's a great segue. What makes Temecula a great place for these tours?
This is a very Wild West town in its origin. I mean, as a little bit of a maybe not so fun fact, but before Old Town was even here, the land that is mostly what we know as Old Town was once an ancient indigenous burial ground for the Payamcuichum people, known today as the Liseño. Mm-hmm. But with that, of course, that led to a lot of belief in the very early days of the town circling around, well, having disturbed this ancient burial site, did they bring all these various curses upon them? And who's to say if they did? There was a lot of very strange sequences of natural disasters in the town's early history. But even beyond that, like I said, just a very raucous, Wild West kind of town, far enough from the real centers of civilization back in those days that, there's a lot of nasty stuff that was able to go on.
Yeah. Talk about a real-life spaghetti western. that is Old Town Temecula.
So what inspired you guys to start leading these tours?
And how did you both meet? Were you friends before any of this?
So we're not the owners of the haunt or anything. We work for the awesome owner, Wes, but You start, because you started here before I did.
Yes. I did get hired on back in December of 2023, and before me there was just a single guide holding down the fort through spooky season. So shout out Gina. She no longer works for the company, but she's a real one. But with that, yes, it's always kind of been in my wheelhouse. I think I've been in this various paranormal investigation type of roles for quite a while. I have been a tour guide in other circumstances, and I'm an actor, I'm a performer, so I think all of that really converged into this being maybe the perfect job for my past experience. So, yes. So with that, I saw the opening, I said, well, I simply have to do this. I was hired on, and yes, a couple months later, we met with Becca being hired.
Yeah, Aedan here actually taught me everything I know. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that quite literally for the most part. To be honest, I graduated university. I had my bachelor's and I was looking for a job. And I applied to maybe legitimately 100 places. And the only place to respond to me was The Haunt. Wes responded to me 2 hours after I submitted my application, was like, hey, you seem super cool, let's do an interview. And it just went from there. I've always been a very spooky person. My birthday is in October. My mom loved Halloween. She nicknamed me Boo. So my name was Boo when I was a kid, basically. And I've always been able to interact with the spirits in some way. So as I got older, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just crazy. And then I started working with the Haunt, and I'm like, I'm not crazy. It's meant to be. And I love it. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we both do. I think we really both very much enjoy our wine and true crime tour, especially since we co-wrote it.
Yes.
But the ghost tour has my heart.
Yes, exactly. It's where everything started for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so explain the two different tours, and is there an overlap between them?
There is a slight overlap. One or two of the stories that we tell are shared between the tours just because they are so perfect for both the true crime and the ghost story side of things. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they are two different experiences. The ghost tour is mostly outdoors, walking around a lot more, getting to go physically to each of these different haunted locations, getting to check out with the various ghost hunting tools we have. Again, EMF readers, dowsing rods, pendulums, various different sorts of
Spirit
things.
box.
Yes, that's a good one, a fan favorite as well.
Oh yes, the Estes method.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely, we gotta.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then the wine tour, that's mostly doing actual wine tastings. It's
Yes.
very similar to a traditional wine tour, I think, with the added benefit of true crime stories.
Talking
Nice.
about heinous things that have happened to people.
Yeah.
And then drinking about it.
Makes it good on smooth.
Yeah, real smooth. We have a trauma cheers now. Yeah. Courtesy of
Those are very popular podcasts, though. The true crime
The true
stuff.
crime, yeah.
Like,
Oh yes.
Yeah, we should, if we were more interested in true crime, that's probably what we should have done.
Hey, you'll get your dose of it if you come on our tour. Yeah. It's the right amount too. I would say.
I think so. I would say so.
Yeah. Because even in true crime, and as somebody who really does know crime, that's what I went to school for, was criminology and such. So I really know how true crime is and how the statistics are. And when it comes to our stories, we have a good range of this is super theatrical, almost Hollywood, and then some that really did happen. That's wow, people are genuinely just. I have no words.
Yeah,
I have
terrible,
no
yeah.
words.
Can you give people a flavor of what they would expect to go, and what kind of stories they would hear?
On the wine tour or ghost tour?
I don't know. I guess the ghost tours. I don't know if I guess we're focused on that today.
Yeah. I guess talk about the ghost tour.
I mean, you can talk about both of them separately.
Yeah.
I don't. When you offer them, are they kind of like Friday nights and Saturday nights? Assume that's when everything's busy around here. Are they back to back, or are they? How do you arrange them? Can people do both of them? Could you go on the ghost tour, and then is that the way you offer them? 7:00 is our ghost tour, or the wine and crime, and then 9:00 is.
I mean, we don't really broadcast them being right next to each other in time slots. They're actually pretty advertised for separate experiences, mostly because depending on serving time, drinking time, travel time, both tours can run overtime for very different reasons. But Technically, yes, you could. Our wine and true crime tours typically start at 6 p.m., 5 or 6 p.m., and then our ghost tours will predominantly always start at 8 p.m.
Yeah. I think the best time if you did want to try to hit both would usually be a Sunday, because our wine tours are always at 5 p.m. on Sundays. Ghost tours 8 p.m. So that gives you a nice little hour buffer if you want to grab a bite to eat. Fill your belly after all that wine.
Yeah.
And are all the places you go to here in Old Town?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then people would be walking around. Is it a pretty minimal walk, or is it? Are they walking from one end to the other and back again?
Yeah. Our wine tour is like a block.
Yeah.
Because, people don't want to walk around a lot when they've had 6 tastings in them. They're like, where are we going? Ghost tour is definitely longer.
Yes.
It's about a mile, though. It's not that bad.
And plenty of stops to at least rest on your feet, if nothing else. So not too intensive.
I was gonna say that there's a lot of stops on the ghost tour, so you can kind of take a break. I mean, but yeah, it's around Old Town, so it's not like you're walking up and down mountains.
Yeah.
Does every place in Old Town kind of have a different vibe to it, or a different story? I mean, it's not really that big of an old town for people who are listening and never been here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. Even here where we are, the vibes here are like very light, very fun, very much like, you want a drink? Like, that is the vibe. In most places, that's the vibe, where they're very, very tame spirits, I guess is one way to describe it, or friendly or curious.
Yeah.
Very rarely have we run into anything that's like,
Outwardly aggressive.
Yes. But we have had our stories.
Once or twice.
Yes.
What's the craziest thing that has happened on a tour?
You have to share yours.
I've got 2 pretty big contenders, I think.
Same.
So once there's a bridge that crosses over the Marietta Creek out back of Old Town, and one of our ghost hunting tools that I most often like to use on that bridge are dowsing rods. Very simple, very old tool, usually for finding water, minerals, that sort of thing. But we also use them to try to communicate with spirits.
And yes or no questions.
Yes, exactly. Very, very simple form of communication, very easy for them. And one night, we were out there, we're on this bridge. It was very dead time during the town. It was very late at night. And we were trying to just get in contact. Initially, I had a guest holding the dowsing rods, and I start out, as I always do, asking just, is there anything here that would like to speak with us tonight? Mm-hmm. Dowsing rods, they don't really move, nothing really happened for a minute. And I try again, I say, okay, maybe the dowsing rods are a little bit difficult for you. Could you give us maybe if there is something here, if you could give some kind of a sign just to let us know if you are indeed here with us. And that's when, I kid you not, all of the street lights on the bridge go out in an instant.
What?
Nowhere else in town. We could see both sides of the bridge. All the streetlights everywhere else are completely fine. All the buildings, it's all fine. Just the bridge goes dark for like 5 seconds. And then when the lights come back on, the dowsing rods have moved into the yes position. As in, perhaps, yes, there is something here that has just given us a bit of a sign. That was
just a little sign.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was. I got accused of somehow rigging that, as if I have friends in the Temecula electrical grid.
Yeah.
The mayor.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
No, if I had those connections, I'd be using it for a lot more. Trust me.
We're gonna have to get Mayor Brandon on here, and we'll quiz him about this.
That's wild.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Were people recording at the time you were?
Unfortunately, not.
It never happens. It never happens.
Yeah. Never happens. Never works out. But no, more recently I had one that was pretty big as well, in which it was a bachelorette party. I don't think it was their actual bachelorette party, but it was the group of people. And we were walking along past one of the old hotels in town, one of my favorite stops. And one of the girls sort of yelps and grabs her neck and goes, "Oh, something has touched the back of my neck." And I'm a little bit skeptical, like I said earlier. So, okay, probably you did feel something at the very least. And she's adamant, "No, I felt a hand touch the back of my neck." I go, okay, that's very spooky, of course, but we move on. There's not much we can do with that. And later, probably 5-10 minutes later, I get finished telling one of my other stories. And one of her friends goes, "Oh my God, Kirsten, what is that on the back of your neck?" And she pulls her hair aside, and there are these 4 red scratch marks across the back of her neck, like fingernails. It really truly looks like. So perhaps that's probably one of the more seemingly aggressive encounters we've had, where perhaps something really did like scratch this poor girl on the back of her neck. But yeah, that was pretty intense as well.
That's wild.
Yes.
Very much. Gosh, I have so many.
Well, save it for your podcast. So,
Oh yeah.
you know,
I'll do one of my favorites. So I had a really big group one night. It was probably closer to Halloween time last year, maybe around September, so about a year ago. And I had a few different groups, a few different kinds of people. And one group in particular, it was an aunt and her nieces, and they absolutely loved like ghost adventures and watching Sam and Colby on YouTube. Like they loved all the ghost hunting stuff. So one of them had an app on their phone, which again, my skeptical side of me is like, okay, now we're bringing the phone apps out, but you know, whatever, they're gonna have fun, use the app. But it was something called Spirit Talker, which is kind of similar to how one of our tools would work, which is a spirit box, except without all the staticky noise that a radio would have. It just says words. So it could like come through the phone basically saying like, oh, train, bullet, like stuff like that, right? Well, we hadn't really had a lot going on. It wasn't really saying a lot. But we get under this tree where we share a very somber story of things that happened to the native people here, which is, you know, incredibly depressing to talk about, but very necessary. And I started to tell the story, and all of a sudden her spirit box, I'll call it, app goes off and it says respect. And we're like, oh no. It was deafening how silent everybody got after that. Sorry.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, the EMF is going off.
I just want to say I'm shooting some video in the background. If one of those bottles that's on the shelf or just start falling, either Shannon rigged it or like I'm walking out of here. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, that's it. But anyway, and her box keeps going off, or her phone keeps going off while we're talking, and it's saying sit, respect, owe, as in like owing someone. And I stopped the story and I asked, like, should we bring out another tool to communicate? Because clearly it was using this phone, and it was very like the same words repeated, and it ended up saying yes, like flat out just yes. So I'm like, okay, we got out the dowsing rods and the spirit box, which is basically a radio that scans through FM or AM stations very quickly. And it said that spirits can manipulate the radio frequencies to either speak with their own voice or speak manipulating what they hear over the radio and talk through it that way. So we had everything out at this point. We're in a circle sitting like cross-legged now under this tree. And we started getting like correlating evidence from every single one of our tools. Like if the answer was yes, the dowsing rods were at yes, the pendulum was at yes, the spirit box and then the girl's phone app was saying the same thing. And it basically concluded that we were talking to someone who was half native, half Spanish, which would make sense considering the history of the town, who was saying like, she was disrespected, she was executed, and she feels like she's owed justice. So we kind of did a little like, you can release like yourself, like you do not have to be trapped here, you don't need to be stuck here. And then the energy kind of died down and we're like, okay, maybe it's over. I wrapped up the story and we got up to leave. As we got up to leave, the girl's phone started going off and it's saying like, oh, they're saying it says like guide, it's talking to you, because it said like tour and guide like separately. And I'm like, okay, what's it saying? And it said that essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but it essentially was saying that the spirits of the area call me the radio witch. Which I think is really funny. Yeah, so I'm like, I'll take that. That's pretty cool. But that was something where I had like 15 plus people all experience this. I had non-believers, I had believers, I had skeptics. By the end of that tour, everyone was like silent. Everyone was like kind of reflecting on what happened. And then my other story, I'll keep it really quickly. It happened actually at the Hotel Palomar, which is notorious for being the most haunted hotel in Temecula. And I'm wrapping up my tour, and all of a sudden the couple that I'm with, they're facing the hotel, I'm facing them. So I can't see anything behind me, obviously. And the woman points up at one of the windows and she goes, the light just turned on in there. Now, for those who don't know, the Hotel Palomar is not operated as a hotel anymore. Nobody goes inside, especially upstairs, at 10:30 at night. No, it's not not open for business. So I turn around, I see the light is on, and I see it turn off. And I'm going, okay, that's weird. And then all of a sudden, we see the blind of the window get pulled back, and we see a silhouette, a shadowy silhouette of a woman lean forward, lean back, and then the blinds close. I just ended my tour there because I didn't know what to say. we all collectively just saw this apparition. I'm like, that happened. And it's something we talk about on or for some of the haunts of that story too. So to actually witness it happening is like, oh, it's real.
Yeah.
That was real. All three of us just collectively saw that. Yeah.
And sometimes that's how it goes. You just say, okay, well, that's simply undeniable.
Yeah, like
That's a wrap.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's one thing when one tool goes off, because it could be like an interference. Like an EMF can have interference from somebody's cell phone or literally a Tesla driving by. But when we're out back by the bridge or out back by the tree and these tools start going off by themselves, there's absolutely no reason for that to be happening.
Yeah, there's like nothing back there.
Exactly.
I had a crazy experience on my tour with Aedan. I won't go into too many details, but in the middle of the tour, you had stopped to do a tarot card reading, which I've done a couple times before in my life, and I've always found them to be pretty accurate or relatable. And I remember you had said this could be to anyone specific. It could be about a specific spirit in the area, like, you know, we'll just have to take it for what it is. And as you started going through it, my friends and I could not stop staring at each other because it was so specifically detailed to me and a very specific experience that I had just had. And it blew my mind. It was so accurate. I could not believe it.
That seems to happen more often than not. Like, generally, I do try to ask the spirits if they have anything they would like to convey about themselves, if there's anything just they want to let us know as we're chilling out here. But most often, it does seem that the cards do pick a specific person or a group of people in the tour to just really dig into and psychoanalyze.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, the skeptical side of people could be like, oh, it's like a horoscope, like anybody can find relation to it. But this was so specific. I don't think there was anybody else on that tour that it related to, as well as my friends and I.
What is the biggest challenges doing these tours?
I think oftentimes it is just keeping everything on track in one way or another. Especially with the wine tour, oftentimes there can be interference. Well, not even people drinking, but definitely we've had some fun guests, I think.
Oh boy!
But even beyond that, sometimes it's just a busy night, and you know the bars were not necessarily their first priority. They have other customers they need to get to as well. So
like they have wine club memberships, you know. So obviously we understand that we don't take priority those nights, but our guests don't understand that sometimes. On the ghost tour, I'll say my biggest challenge that I've run into is just twofold. One is the people that decide to go on the tour, and the other one is sometimes Temecula is really dead. Like, there's no activity that happens. And that's really hard, especially when you have a big group full of people that are all skeptics or non-believers, and then nothing happens, and it's like, okay, I'll try and play it off a little bit. But then that's also my other thing is sometimes we get people on our ghost tours that just, they don't believe in ghosts, they don't like ghosts, they don't want to interact with the ghosts, and it's like, why are you here?
Yeah. Mostly we get a pretty good guess, but of course, any sort of front-facing customer service. I think if you've worked in the wine industry, you've had the same sort of people who just, I don't know why you're here, you don't seem to want to be there. But most of the time, I think it's a pretty enjoyable experience.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know about you, Aedan, but I've had this a few times. On our wine and true crime tour, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory that we will drink wine and we will talk true crime. I've had multiple people go on this tour saying that they don't like or aren't interested in true crime and that they don't drink wine.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about biggest challenges, that's it. Because then you have to improv the whole time, which isn't bad necessarily. And you learn a lot about those people. And sometimes it's nice because it's like, well, if you wanted a seltzer or you want a little spritz, like, I'll get you something like that. Like, they have those things here. But at the same time, I'm like, you paid for this ticket. you paid for me to give you this experience that is wine and true crime.
Are they at least interested in the crime if they're not interested in wine? I mean, I understand there's a lot of people who go along, like with spouse or friends, who would rather have a beer.
Of course. Or they're the DD.
Or they just don't drink.
Yeah.
But they're interested in the crime part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think even with the ghost tour, oftentimes as well, that one gets maybe a little more traction with folks who maybe aren't interested in the paranormal because at least it delves a lot more into the real rich history of Temecula as well.
Yes.
So even aside from the paranormal, it definitely has something for everyone, ideally. Oh,
of course. And that's kind of something I really love about the ghost tour, because again, wine and true crime, it is wine, it is true crime. But our ghost tour, like Aedan was saying, we do talk about so much rich history here, because there's so much here that you wouldn't even expect. Like, of course, there's native land, but it's the stories of what happened to these people and all the other settlers that came in and how that all unfolded and what consequences happened. And most of those consequences, leave ghosts behind. Either physical or metaphysical. So
yes.
It's just super fun to talk about history and buildings. I get a lot of architects, honestly, on my tour that's like, what wood is this? I'm like, I don't know.
They found something interesting.
That's also something that we've never experienced in wine. What soil is this growing?
Yeah.
Rocks? Is it dirt?
You always know there's going to be at least one person that asks those questions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I usually just turn around on them. I'm like, what do you think this is? And then,
ooh, that's good.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know, but I don't want them to know that I don't know. So it's like, well, what do you think it is? And they're like, maybe a cedar. I'm like, okay.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, yeah.
All right, this question can be for everybody. If you could share a glass of wine with a historical figure, who would it be and what would you be drinking?
I think off the top of my head, just to keep it on theme perhaps, and I guess this technically shirks the question just a little bit, but I might go with the Fox sisters.
There you go.
They're infamous early paranormal investigators, quote unquote. They were very early mediums and sort of pioneered the art of the seance, and I do mean art because they were infamously eventually revealed to have this incredibly complicated system by which they would essentially rig the entire process. So they would have these incredible seances where the table would start levitating and they'd ask for ghosts to talk to them and there would be knocks from the other room to answer them in Morse code and all these wild things that seemingly could not be explained by anyone. And the Fox sisters had simply found out just an incredible way of rigging all of this and putting it together and turning it into a performance art of its own, honestly. And so even though they weren't real mediums, seemingly, I would love to just dig into that and see what it was like for them and what spurred them on to trying that in the first place, because they were some of the first people to try actual seances as we think of them in the first place. So why would they really go to those lengths to fake it if it wasn't even a business, an art form quite yet? I'd just love to pick their brains, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Funny you bring that up. I have a lot of people that I would love to talk to, but one of which is Thomas Edison.
Real quick here. Becca intended to say Alexander Graham Bell instead of Thomas Edison during this segment. So whenever she mentions Thomas Edison, just replace it with Alexander Graham Bell in your head.
And I say that because apparently Thomas Edison was a devout spiritualist. Apparently we're getting confirmation. I don't know.
Yeah, she's looking at her EMF.
Yeah, sorry.
It keeps lighting up. And now it's blinking. It just blinked. Does it normally blink, or have I just missed that?
It's been doing it. Now it's doing it more. But I would love to sit down and have maybe a nice, either whiskey or bourbon with Thomas Edison, because he apparently invented all of these wonderful things that we take for granted nowadays, like the telephone. He originally intended to invent that as a means to communicate with ghosts.
Oh.
Yeah. the telephone was supposed to be an invention to communicate with the other side, but it actually just communicated with other people, which is a very useful tool, but not what he intended. So then he tried to invent something called the spirit phone, which obviously didn't go too well, considering nobody's ever heard of it. Yeah. But that would actually later become the gramophone, which was used as like the first like record player or music player. So, and I think that does have something to do with it too, because he was very creative. He was very intuitive, at least to have like invented these really fascinating technologies that would get used on such a massive scale. I mean, we have a gramophone telephone combination with our phones today in our pocket that also have, cameras and such. But I would love to just pick his brain, be like, what was the thought process in trying to make these tools to communicate with ghosts? And like, what experiences did you have? And like, what really spurred this on to be like, I'm going to invent something to communicate with them? Like, I want to know if that came from his skepticism, if that came from just, this big spiritualist movement is sweeping the nation, like the Fox sisters, like Aedan said, really forwarded that. So I just want to know where it comes from.
That's so cool. I had no idea. What about you, Rick?
I would say Thomas Jefferson. When you said Thomas, I was like, not Thomas Jefferson, too. Because he is such overlooking the bad parts of history. The other parts is was such probably the biggest wine person of his era. And would bring tons of wines, upscale wines back from France, and he was introduced them to. So he planted a lot of vineyards in that area. And Monticello, is that right?
Monticello.
Sounds right. Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah, I can never remember the estates. Each one of them, Jefferson and Washington's. So I think just having that sort of like wine connection, and then you have the whole history of that time period. I think maybe he would have some good ghost stories too, especially coming out of American Revolution and that time period. And I think it would be fascinating.
Yeah, I would pick Anthony Bourdain. He's so like his whole philosophy on food and travel and culture, bringing people together, and just taking preconceived notions you have about a country or a group of people and just getting rid of all of that and just enjoying their food and learning about them and sitting down and sharing a meal with them. I love that so much. But also I feel like he was so down for like anything if you watched his shows that I feel like he would enjoy the ghost tour.
You could find a nice food pairing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
All right, take a moment and tell everybody how they can book a tour, how can they find you, where can they find you. Go.
Of course, yeah. One of our biggest socials, if you want to find us there, is the Haunt Ghost Tours, full one word, on Instagram. Along with that, if you'd like to book a tour with us, you can go to thehauntghosttours.com, which, as a fun little thing for everyone out there, we actually would like to offer a bit of a promo code to you all.
Yeah.
And so, if you do book any of our drinking tours, this includes our cocktail and true crime tour in Hollywood and our wine and true crime tours in Solvang and, of course, down here in Old Town Temecula, please feel free to use promo code POUR, P-O-U-R, POUR, to get $12 off of your ticket price.
Wow. Well, thank you.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
of course.
guys.
You're welcome.
How did I haven't been to Solvang, and it's one of those places my wife and I want to go
I
visit.
love Solvang.
What could we have you done the tour? I assume that you have you ever conducted a tour there, or have you just gone on that?
We have joined as guests.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have joined as guests. Highly, highly, highly recommend both the Wine and True Crime and the Ghost Tour. They are fascinating. Maybe don't do them back to back. But
You can. I'm
you
sure they would
absolutely
appreciate the
can.
money.
You absolutely can.
But
but
a little too much.
Professional recommendation is to not do them back to back. We have some
The
humorous
EMF thing is
equipment.
found that quite humorous or something. It's going crazy over there.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we have something here.
Or I
that'll-
just really like Solvang, too.
yeah.
Do ghosts travel? Can they travel around?
I would say yeah.
Is it just like the TV show Ghost? Can you be a car ghost? You know, if you die in the car, or do you get to travel around?
I've heard of a couple of car
Oh, yeah.
ghosts, ghost ships.
Ghost ships,
Those have been
exactly.
around for ages. Yeah,
Ghost
I think
planes?
so. Yeah.
Ghost trains. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Hey, your imagination is limitless, and so is the metaphysical. So.
All right, well, one more segment, and we're going to take a little break here. But on the Pour Temecula podcast, we present our guests with 2 wines. One wine is from Temecula, and one wine is from somewhere else in the world. They're both the same varietal today. So we'll take a little break, we'll pour some wine, and we'll see if you can guess which one's from Temecula.
Okay.
Looking forward.
And maybe the ghosts can provide some input too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Bring out the cards.
All right, we are back with Aedan and Becca, who are going to take the Pour Temecula blind tasting challenge. They have 2 red wines in front of them. They're both from the same varietal. So wine 1 will be the one on your left side, and wine 2 will be the wine that is on your right. And if you're a ghost, I can't help you at all on that front. So how would you describe these wines?
Wine 1 is very jammy. I would describe it as jammy. It is warm. Has notes of vanilla. It's honestly delicious. I don't know what kind of wine. I would guess it to be either like a Syrah Zinfandel style of grape or a cab, just a cab sauv.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it is a little bit sweeter, at least on the sweeter side than the first. I think our spirits are agreeing with us here. Our EMF is flashing once again. So
I
our
guess we're
spirits, yes, our spirits do enjoy spirits, it seems like.
Oh yes, yep, confirmation.
Maybe they were expired sommeliers in their prior lives.
You never know.
Yeah, they were.
That might have been a no.
I think that's I think your explanation or your how you describe them is pretty perfect for what these wines are. They are kind of jammy and sweet. Mm-hmm. The first one, definitely you get the like vanilla tones to it. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right there on the right track. What do you think, Shannon? I mean, you know what these are.
I know what they are, but yeah, wine number 1 is definitely a lot more jammy than wine number 2, but
But they're not, I wouldn't say they're completely dissimilar, though. To me, they're not. One seems a little bit more kind of gentler drinking, I would say. The first one being smoother, like fruitier.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a thought on which one's from Temecula and which one's from somewhere else? We'll also say California. It's also from California.
Okay.
I can kind of get that. One feels like it's an older varietal, as if the vine is really old, which is tricky because we do have very old vines here in Temecula.
Yes.
I just don't know if that would be from a place that would have those vines, because it tastes very similar to a wine that I tried over at the Bella Vista winery here in Temecula, which is I think it's the oldest commercial winery here in Temecula.
Becca, you have no idea what these wines are, right?
No.
Where did you come up with the old vine thing? Seriously, you don't know? No sneaky peeks, nothing.
I have
nothing.
No preconception. I barely know like wine tastes. Like I just drink wine, and I've been to wineries that have like, oh, this is an older grape, and then I've had other wines where it's like, this is less processed, a more newer grape, and that's kind of what I'm getting at with these two, which is what makes it difficult because I don't know which was from Temecula or not.
Yeah, exactly. I think around here we do talk a lot about, especially the mission wines. So I think that
Yes. Mm-hmm.
it strikes at least a little bit of a note for us.
Yeah, but again, if it's a mission wine, despite it being an old vine, that would make it a little more sweet because they have less incentive to make it a little more like sulfite-y.
Yeah.
So I find this super freaky because I never would add it. Okay, so this is without giving away. They're both Zinfandels. One of them is an old vine, and when I say old, I mean probably 115, 120-year-old vine. Okay.
Zinfandel, that being the first one. So
Yeah, you
Really?
yes.
really nailed
And you were
that.
like, oh, this tastes like an old
this
wine.
one, too.
I would never even have said that. All my 25 years of
Is it this
expert
one?
wine training, I've just been blown away by a possessed ghost or something. I don't know. I'm just joking with you. I'm like, I know. That marker must have hit you upside the head and like given you this amazing wine knowledge that you didn't tap into for another 15 years or whatever.
Apparently, yeah. I was gonna say, I think the number 2 is definitely a little like newer because it tastes like, this is such a poor way to describe it. It tastes processed more.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one is definitely sweeter in a sense where it's like, oh, this is like more more natural,
fruitier.
Yeah, fruitier, more fruit forward or grape forward. Which, I mean, I don't know. I know I have. I'll say this. This might clear up a little bit. I'm Greek, so I have wine in my blood. So I feel like I can kind of discern things based off of my heritage. And apparently, the ghosts also agree.
Apparently so. So the second wine is from. Oh, you can read it off.
Yeah, so wine number 2 is Lorimar's 2019 Zinfandel.
Okay, so is Lorimer the Temecula one?
They're Temecula. They are over in the little roundabout circle in Rancho, California.
Yeah.
And then
And then the second wine is from Gnarly Head out of Lodi. It's a Zinfandel. It's the limited edition Grateful Dead Old Vine Zen. It literally says Old Vine on there, and you said Old Vine. That it was
Nailed
communicated
it.
to you. Well, I saw that one, and I was like, because I was going to pick 7 Deadly Zins. I was like, oh, okay, well, it's sort of appropriate. And then I saw this one.
Can I take a picture of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw this one, and I was like, oh, no, Shannon, I should pick this one, right?
yeah,
And apparently it spoke to all of us,
Yeah.
but especially to you, because you were like, oh, that
you
blows me
nailed
away.
the tasting notes too. Deep berry fruit and spice and vanilla.
Yeah.
So just a comparison in cost to, I think the Gnarly Head was under $10, and the Lorimar was probably
Lorimar's
closer to
probably
40 to
like
50.
40 to 50.
Isn't that always how it is?
Yeah, so
Every
it's
single time.
So
And I prefer the cheap one. I do, genuinely. I feel like the Lorimar one, it's good. I'm not going to trash talk on Lorimar. It's good. It's just not my preference in terms of, like, it's a little too heavy.
A little bit, yeah. I think you mentioned earlier that if we wanted to describe it even as simply as it tastes like wine, I think of the two, the first one tastes more like wine, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still blown away. I'm speechless. Okay,
Laugh.
so we always ask our guests what they would pair with In and Out. Now, Aedan you're a vegan.
Yes.
And so we know you're going to go for the grilled cheese because that's what Shannon goes for.
Without the cheese.
Without the cheese.
The grilled cheese.
The grilled toast. Okay, no.
Hey,
Well, there are some people are vegetarian and vegan, and I'm neither of those. So it is confusing to me, like what qualifies as what, and where's the limit? Because I have a friend who's very vegan, but yet he eats a lot of cheese. So he's like, well, the animals are still living and they're providing a product. So
That sounds vegetarian.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Vegan, get the grilled cheese.
So what are you having with the French fries? The French fries and toast.
In-N-Out fries, they're not the worst. Let me go on record right here. With my
They're so good.
delicious French fries and toast meal, maybe some ketchup on the side. No, I'll have some mustard. I think I'll pair with that maybe a Pinot Grigio, I think, to cut through just a little bit, but not to be too much on the nose with it's a bit of a carb forward meal right there. So I think I can chill it with a nice Pinot Grigio.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That or you're just Irish. Are you Irish?
No, I'm Italian.
Okay. That's fine.
Hey, yeah. No offense. It's all good. None taken.
Oh man, I have 2 choices. I would choose like a pet nat to go with In-N-Out because it's nice, light, it's carbonated, which would replace that soda intake, I think. And if you wanted to just straight up go with the heavy fast food vibe, probably a nice petite Syrah.
Ooh. That's a good
I
mention.
don't think anybody
Yeah, no
said
one
that. I like that.
I'm original.
Very California too. Petite Syrah.
Yeah.
Also.
Yes, very Californian.
Just like In and Out.
Yes, just like In and Out.
Just like- Oh, thanks, Aedan and Becca, for coming on to the show today. Just again, where can people find you? And I guess we didn't talk about costs. Do you want to talk about the cost of the tours? What can people expect to pay?
You have to pay more if you're not a believer.
I'll
tell you that much.
Do people- okay, so on their website, they mentioned that if you're a non-believer, I think you pay a certain amount more, maybe double, like what it is for a believer to go on the tour. Do you have people that just out of spite will pay more to say they're a non-believer? Becca's yes.
Really? I've never had that on my tours.
Never.
No.
I had, oh my goodness. I'm not going to give anything away of this guest because that's their privacy, but I had an individual who purchased a non-believer ticket and pulled me aside in the middle of the tour and was like, so when are you going to make me a believer? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? They're like, we purchased the non-believer tickets, and it took every bone in my body to not just burst out laughing. It's our non-believer tickets are kind of like what the Fox sisters did.
Yeah.
Is a good example of describing it. So those who fell for the Fox sisters would also probably fall for our non-believer tickets.
But you will happily accept money.
Of course.
Yes.
Hey, that's rent.
But if you're not a believer and you choose the believer ticket, we're not going to screen you. I don't ever double check.
Yes, I don't either.
I'm the cool guide, so I'm not going to double
Excuse
check.
you? I'm also the cool guy. We definitely don't screen our guests.
No.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on to Pour Temecula today. This has been a lot of fun. And so, any last sort of input into kind of like what you're detecting inside of Two Travelers? So, could there be a ghost sighting here? You know,
Sighting, possibly. Vibe, absolutely. I feel like there's an entertainer spirit here who has a good sense of humor. She is very present. There's another male spirit that's hovering by the bar. As far as I can tell, he definitely just gives like bartending vibes. And it might be Louis, which if you want to know more about Louis, you can come on our ghost tour. We'll tell you all about him.
that is a great plug, and we'll end there. And any last words?
Thank you so much for having us. I think that
Thank
closes
you.
me out, really.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Stay spooky.
Yeah.
Stay spooky.
All right, thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.